So I stumbled across a video this week that you wouldn't think would give me hope, but actually gave me hope. It's about how complex systems like a country collapse. And it's basically about how the US is on the verge of collapse. But like I said, it gave me hope. So this is by a woman who says she's not an economist, but she is someone who studies complex systems.
Okay, strap in for this one, y'all. I am not an economist, but I have studied complex systems for years, and the science here is well established. What we're seeing right now is multiple critical components of our economic and political network showing simultaneous strain. Think of it like a rubber band. It stretches and holds tension, and then it snaps suddenly. That snap is what complexity scientists call a mixed transition. You can cross the threshold before the visible collapse happens. But once you've passed that point, the failure cascade becomes extremely difficult, if not impossible, to stop. With the government shutdown that went into effect October 1st, food price surges, over 30,000 jobs lost in the latest ADP report, with previous months revised downward, and all the other factors that we'll discuss, I believe we're approaching if we haven't already crossed that threshold. I could be wrong about timing or even whether we reach full transition, but the pattern is concerning enough that understanding what's happening really matters. Zoom out a bit and think about the US as an extremely complex system made up of other complex systems. We're talking 330 million people, trillions in daily transactions, massive supply chains, massive global markets, all interconnected. Usually that complexity makes us resilient, but under the right or the wrong conditions, it becomes our biggest vulnerability. Failure cascade is how complex systems most often collapse. All the interconnections that are efficient in average circumstances become highways for problems to spread. One disruption triggers the next, like a line of dominoes, and it amplifies as it goes. There's something more abrupt than cascading failure, and this is called the mixed transition. This is what keeps complexity scientists up at night. Here's how that works. So, tiny failures accumulate invisibly throughout the system. Everything looks fine on the surface, but you hit a critical threshold, and suddenly, even a small shock causes the whole thing to transform. And the scary part is once it starts, you can't reverse it because the underlying structure has fundamentally changed. The warning signs are increased variance in measurements, systems taking longer to recover from shocks, events becoming more correlated, and flickering between stable and unstable states. And so I think this sounds familiar to all of us in the US right now. Since 2020, we've been accumulating what researchers call failure drift, eroding trust, supply chain vulnerabilities, mounting debt, extreme partisanship, and repeated fiscal crises. But 2025 is qualitatively different. This administration isn't dealing with sequential challenges. They're simultaneously attacking multiple core systems at once. Direct interference with the private sector, institutional purges that destroy continuity, aggressive tariffs destabilizing the economy, cold shouldering allies, which leads to frayed, long-standing relationships, mass deportations, fracturing social cohesion, and now a government shutdown. In the financial system, bond markets are stressed. Foreign holders are nervous. The AI stock bubble has multiple burst triggers that are ready to go. Regional banks are still fragile from commercial real estate exposure. In the economy, unemployment is rising fast with major layoffs across sectors. Tariffs are driving business costs up 10 to 15% while destroying export markets. Housing foreclosures hit a 6-year high with 36,000 just in August. Healthcare premiums are about to explode, and federal revenue will collapse as the tax base shrinks. In government operations, the Treasury General account is depleting rapidly with no revenue replacement during the shutdown. They've got 156 billion in emergency funds that they can shuffle around, but that faces legal challenges and resource limits. Meanwhile, 20 of the 25 largest cities are facing deficits as they absorb the federal cost shifts from all the cuts. And as for the food system, it's getting critical. Agricultural exports are down 15% as China halted soybean purchases, and that's a 12.8 billion market that just gone. Farm bankruptcies in the first half of 2025 have already exceeded all of 2024. Grocery prices are rising over half a percentage point monthly, which is the fastest in 3 years. And then there's a predicted 7% holiday price shock that's coming, and we're already starting to see supply chain disruptions and restocking issues. The military, they're trying to politicize it with purges, loyalty tests, domestic deployment preparations.
I'm assuming none of us are experts in complex systems, but without having that knowledge, does this seem plausible to you all?
Absolutely.
I think of it as a FMEA root cause analysis kind of a thing. You got to
Say that
break it
again?
down to see where the leaks are, and then that's how you find out where your weaknesses are, and you have to shore them up.
Do we think the US is in collapse or on the verge of collapse?
Oh,
I do.
definitely.
It's on the verge. It's on the verge.
I don't think we've gotten there yet, but
Yeah.
I think people are not starting to see it in their everyday lives, and they think we aren't. But I think we've got those silent ones just going off right now, and I think it's going to be not one of those graduals, like she said. I think it's just going to fall off all of a sudden, and that's going to be worse than the. It's gradual right now, but it's coming to a precipice quick, in my opinion.
Steve Bannon said that Trump needs one more term in order to
ugh,
complete what he's trying to do.
So we're going to
So,
talk about that
No.
later. Yeah.
yeah, so, I
We're gonna
mean,
talk
this has been going on for a while, and I think the election was rigged. I don't believe he won. It was too many people that was behind Kamala Harris. It's just hard for me to believe that she actually lost. But his goal, since he's been in office, is to destroy this country.
I think the graph she showed that was really poignant is the one where all the little things are happening and we're not seeing it really clearly. Like you said, Anitra, a lot of people aren't feeling it right now until all that blue fills up, and then people go, oh shit.
Well, the
We're in
federal
trouble. Then
government people,
then it's too late.
a lot of them got half of their check on their last pay period, and this time they didn't get anything. And so now this is their first experience at no paycheck at all. And so, and then on top of it, with the SNAP benefits stopping November 1st, you're gonna have people fighting one another for food. We're gonna act like scavengers and stuff.
I think November 1st is going to be a very big testing point.
Well,
To
that is
see-
January 1st when you find out you have no insurance too.
So, do you think that the tipping point when we think about that dominoes stuff that she showed, is there a tipping point? Is there something that's going to cause everything to collapse? Is it going to be the end of SNAP benefits? Is it going to be something else?
We have to have the SNAP, and and then it's going to be a combination of that and these other social programs that are getting shaved, as I'm calling it. It's going to go into the housing market as far as Section 8 or whatever you call it in your state. On top of it's going to be a combination of things together, and those are not going to be so silent. But the silent ones underneath the combination of those big ones is where the ground's going to not be able to handle it. It's going to come through. It's going to be like mudslides in California. It's saturated. It can't hold up anymore. It's done all it can.
A friend of mine told me they already told her that they were not going to renew her Section 8 housing next year, that this was the last year that she could have it.
Oh, wow.
To answer the question, if the government stays shut down
Yeah.
much longer, I think those dominoes are going to start to really fall. I think to your point, Anitra, because people are start losing their homes. That's another domino that's going to fall, and then it's just going to continue. Yeah.
I saw that this shutdown has the most furloughed workers of any shutdown, and I think it's 900,000.
Oh my God.
That's what
Yeah.
they said, about 800,
And it
900,000.
started with Elon Musk. I mean, I'm just so
Yeah.
upset with Elon Musk. All these millionaires and billionaires or billionaires and trillionaires now. I mean, he let them destroy our country. He just said, "Go ahead, do it."
That's why the Republicans want the government to stay shut down.
Mhm.
So what do we give in and get it back open?
Heck
We
no.
can't do that, right? Do
No.
we? So
Lone Star and Jazzy are touching on something that the video touches on in the next clip, about the military and martial law. And she talks about how much it costs to actually run the military and deploy military. And if we don't have money to pay them, it's going to be very hard to motivate them to actually
mm,
do anything against us. And also, there's not enough of them to go around. They would have to militarize the entire police forces across the country in order to be able to control 331 million Americans.
Face the same personal economic hardships like foreclosures and unemployment as everyone else. So that reduces loyalty to a regime that's also causing their suffering. And the purges of experienced leadership created institutional opposition. Reports from the Quantico meeting this week show officers thinking about red lines and maintaining their apolitical bearing despite political pressure. Professional militaries resist politicization because it undermines mission effectiveness. Using force against economically desperate Americans would accelerate regime collapse, not prevent it. Argentina in 2001 proved this. Military repression during economic crises deepens instability rather than resolving it. Complex military systems also require functioning supply chains, advanced technology, and professional coordination. All of this is vulnerable to economic disruption. As infrastructure fails and logistics collapse, military effectiveness degrades regardless of political loyalties. Argentina had recent authoritarian experience, but their military still couldn't maintain control when unemployment hit 23%, 40,000 businesses shuttered, and the banking system collapsed. Mass protests drew hundreds of thousands despite violent repression, and the government fell. So, when might this mixed transition actually occur? It's dicey, but it could be even as short as 4 to 8 weeks. We've got a convergence right now: financial stress, food price spikes, government shutdown, and economic data blackouts. And the October food crisis hitting consumer budgets during a broader unemployment surge could be the tipping point. For the regime collapse, it could be 6 to 16 weeks at this point, with multiple factors accelerating simultaneously. Treasury depletion is the first domino, and they're burning through the general account with no revenue replacement during the shutdown. That 156 billion in emergency funds buys time, but not that much. Then there's the debt ceiling crisis looming. If we hit the ceiling during the shutdown with tanking revenue, we face potential default, and that triggers bond market panic. Foreign holders who own trillions in US debt start dumping bonds, and bond yields spike. That makes our debt service costs explode right when we can't pay our bills. Currency devaluation then follows. If bond markets lose confidence in US debt, then the dollar weakens. That makes imports more expensive, which accelerates inflation, which makes the food crisis worse, which triggers more social instability. Meanwhile, mass unemployment is rising as businesses are forced to make emergency cuts in staffing or even shutter. Food shortages are hitting. International pressure mounts as allies watch us destabilize. And this is when elite defection starts to accelerate. So, corporate leaders, major donors, even Republican officials, once the financial and political cost of continued support exceeds the benefit of staying loyal, they jump ship. And historically, that's when regimes collapse, not from the bottom up, but when the elites withdraw their support. Bottom line, by simultaneously destabilizing financial management, institutional continuity, economic stability, food security, and military professionalism, this administration has created cascading vulnerabilities that it cannot manage. They've essentially engineered their own downfall through reckless destabilization of the complex system that they sought to control. Be safe out there.
Wow.
She might as well have dropped the mic after she finished talking because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. My
But
God.
she talked the military. The one thing that struck me, though, is remember that Trump is trying to find a way to pay the military during the shutdown. Remember?
Yeah, because he said he wants to stop paying Social Security now, and he wants to stop paying Medicare also. He wants to stop both. And so when you don't give your seniors some money,
I don't understand how you can get 20 billion, 40 billion, excuse me, to get to Argentina, but you can't make it so that you can get some money. He picking and choosing because he's either a dictator or he's not. But then he's not a dictator when it's going to benefit somebody, but when it's going to hurt us, then he just goes ahead and writes an executive order. He's full of crap.
I saw somewhere that the reason that they bailed out Argentina was so all the people in the administration, when it's their time to like go to trial, they can go there and hide. That's
Well,
just
it's
a
got to do with
Well,
that, and it's
yeah,
got
we
to do
haven't
with
fact checked that. Hang on, we haven't
I
fact
know.
checked that, but that's I've heard that too.
And
but a
aren't
lot of
there
it's
also,
got to do with the hedge fund.
yeah, there are a couple of hedge fund guys who have large investments down there. And
including Scott Bessent.
yeah, who is, standing to
The one thing
his
that the other
right.
thing that she said that really stood out was, the fact that we're running through money. He's running through money like we have this money tree. And I think
Mhm.
we have to really remember this man is not a businessman. He was a
No.
con man. He went
Yeah.
bankrupt 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
This is the real danger because he's spending money that's not his, that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And we all need to
That's
convene
why the
on
dollar's
these.
dropping.
We need to go and knock down that Wendy's he's building and throw paint on it and everything. We need to just ram the White House.
Well, didn't I see that like his family since he got back into the presidency made like $3 billion or
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
something
Uh-huh.
something radical? But something Jazzy said really kind of stuck out to me when she was talking about there's so many high up military personnel that see what's
Yeah.
going on that hopefully they have some kind of backup plan in secret because you have to remember they know how to keep a secret.
Yeah.
They're not
Yes.
Pete
And that's
Hegseth
what I
going on
believe.
signal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I
So-
believe. That the military, they got a plan.
And they also know, Katie, how to communicate in secret. You know,
Mhm.
they're not going to do what Hegseth did. They know how to be undercover, and
Mhm.
they will do it right. I mean,
Mhm.
so as Keisha said, when she started, she felt hopeful after, towards the end of that video. Well, maybe there is some hope.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's my thing is she's talking about 4 to 16 weeks. Look, I don't know this woman. I stumbled across her video. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. All the things made sense. I tried to look her up and find out more information about her. I couldn't find anything.
Hmm.
But using my thinking rational brain, it seems like everything she said is plausible. And while I don't want to see people harmed, where we are and where we're going to, this cannot stand. Like this is just untenable. And something
Change the
has
motivator.
I
There will
ain't
be a
picturing
tipping
them
point.
walking in and with the handcuffs and chaining them somewhere. I keep having that dream. They just gonna walk in and say, "This man is nuts."
I agree, and I keep dreaming that same dream, Andrea.
We
I
hope-
think when you look
Like
at
go
kind of
hungry.
philosophy and the idea of the tipping point and the idea that chaos always precedes any kind of transformation.
Mhm.
And to me, that's the hope, right? That's the hope that we have to go through all this to be able to come out on the other side with something great, something better, something that serves everybody, something that, we can all be proud of again, living in this country, or be proud of for the first time living in this
That's
country.
right.
My
Right?
hope, is I hope we have strong Democrats or leaders, but who knows? We don't know, are
Yeah.
working on this. Even though if we don't know, I hope they're working behind the scenes right now to strategize and come up with some way to get this
Yeah.
man out of there.
If we came through slavery and created a country and that was profitable, there's no way that we have very smart, intelligent people in this world. And I think we're gonna come back better than we did before. Look at all of this panel. Even this panel is very brilliant. So I don't believe I'm just gonna sit back and not tell you the information I have because I know how to build things.
so that kind of goes back to my question from, I don't know, 10 episodes ago where I asked everyone what kind of nation we want to see because we are going to have to rebuild and we have to know what our values are, what we want so that we rebuild the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want a dictator.
No, we don't
Well,
want
there,
we don't want hate. It'd be lovely to see hate just go away.
And until we all recognize that we're all important, red, yellow, black, or white, it has nothing to do with the texture of my hair or the color of my skin. Until we realize that all of us are important, I think it's going to keep going wrong.
And while we're thinking on how to rebuild, we need to know how to deal with racism. We need to know how to deal with this administration because their followers will still be here. So we have to put that into the plan as well.
And that's what they're using to make this work. They're using the racism to make us fight. But I like everybody. Only people I don't like is people that mistreat me, and I tend to treat people like they treat me.
Yeah,
I
the
think we have to.
disrespect is real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have to find a way to cut through all of this fear mongering and do our best to try to educate those, just like regarding the racism and the giant separation that we all seem to have.
the other big issue is the greed. The greed. We have to do something about the greed.
It's bad.
Because if we don't, that is
the money
another
out our
huge
politics.
Yeah.
And just in
The greed-
corporate greed, why does a CEO have to make so much money compared to
Exactly.
what they're paying their employees?
Doing the work when it's the us people doing the day-to-day operation, and we could tell you how to run it.
There was a meme I wish I could find just real quick of Bezos when he went up in his rocket, and then underneath were back-to-back people just on top of each other. And it's like he's doing this on the backs of all the people, right? That work for Amazon.
Yes.
And I just thought it was such a pointed visual and so accurate.
I just agree with you. Yeah. And just this, I'm covering what the people in Silicon Valley are doing under the table is to say, okay, we'll pick this city and say, okay, we're not going to bring ICE in. But those cities over there, now we don't care. We're going to do where it is to our advantage. And that really bothered me, finding that information.
Well, and the greed doesn't just have to do with money. It has to do with like so many people thinking that because certain groups get rights like same-sex marriage or like even those who immigrated here and went through the system legally, like for some reason if they get rights, that means that we get it taken away, and that's not the case. We want everybody to be equal.
And that greed more money in than we're putting in. They paying more money in taxes into the system than they're getting out, and I don't understand this why the rich don't pay taxes and we pay, and they'll come and take my house if I don't pay taxes.
So that brings me to the topic of community, and I know we just move on, but I did just want to close out with we do need to prepare for this. And we talked on Wednesday about food banks and how we can help people find resources that they need when they have food insecurity. So of course, donating to food banks and donating to soup kitchens is important. If you can help buy groceries or someone that you know directly, that's also important. What are some other ways that we can help prepare for this collapse?
Go visit the sick and shut in, see if they're okay. The ones that can't move and get around for themselves.
Check in on your neighbors. Just go, if like in my neighborhood, I do have a lot of elderly people. And if I don't see them, I'm going to go knock on their door and make sure that they are okay. But, just checking in addition to donating money to food banks.
In addition to the plate of food.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we need to have on our radar, because a lot of us or a lot of people are talking about, 2026, 2028, but this November, there are going to be thousands of elections going on,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And thousands of people coming up for
Yeah.
some type of office. And those are the people, if we can, to look up, to reach out to donate to see how we can affect that at a different level, because all of those different positions in more local state races are going to affect what happens in the future.
I got to hear
Like,
some people speak about that down here in Virginia during No Kings rally, because they're having their election down here and they're really going at it.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
lot
we're
of elections
voting right
happening.
now. I don't know if nobody remembers. We're voting right now, and in Texas and in other states. I mean, one of the things in Texas they want to do is to help pay for the people to keep all the immigrants out, and I voted against.
Yep. Keep an eye on the elections. Do what we can there now. We just want
I
them to wake
heard
up before it's too late. Before it's too late.
Right.